Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in for another segment of Lifting Community Spirits. I'm your host, Fred Holley. I'm the event coordinator at Republic National Distributing Company in New Orleans, Louisiana. And for those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, Lifting Community Spirits is a weekly happy hour where I share cocktails and conversation with New Orleans professionals that are specifically in the hospitality and food service industry. We'll discuss the status of the industry from their perspective, and we're going to get their take on bringing New Orleans to great culinary and hospitality heights. So today, we're shooting a segment from Famous Drago's restaurant in Metairie. We have the owner, Tommy Cvitanovich, and he's got a few surprises for us, is my understanding, and very, very unique. So stay tuned here. So our cocktails for today, I'm drinking a Sonoma-Cutrer Pinot Noir. And Tommy, what are you having?
Well, I'm having Sailor Jerry. I love spiced rum. I'm putting I got to watch my girlish figure, so I got Diet Coke in there. And I'm going to stick a little lemon just to be a little different, just to be a little panache, just so it doesn't look like I'm drinking a soft drink.
I got you. Very good, very good. And as always, along with our cocktails, we always have a couple dishes of food. And today we have a dish called Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper Gator Bowl. So it's not always about spirits. You know, spirits are real easy to cook with, whether it's a brandy or a wine or a Marchand de Vin sauce or deglaze with some wine. And it's just, we cook with Herradura. We've got other things that we cook with, which is a tequila. Right. And there's all kinds of things we cook with. Well, this is a dish that we're going to cook with Dr. Pepper.
I told you this would be creative and inventive today.
And so we call it Dr. Pepper Gator Bowl. So it's got Dr. Pepper. It's got 5 types of peppers grown in the ground.
Wow.
And it's got alligator. We serve it over rice. And
Fantastic.
It is one of our new dishes. I say new. It's probably been on our menu now for about 6 months. And the combinations, it's the combinations of having the spices with the peppers and getting that sweet and getting the spicy at the same time, and then getting that quality seafood, which farm-raised alligator is wonderful. And it's kind of like what Paul Prudhomme, the great Paul Prudhomme, used to say, you put it in your mouth and you taste it and the magic happens. And there's flavors that you taste on the front side of your palate, and then there's the after, the back side of your palate, the flavors. And they all come into one great bite, and that's what New Orleans is all about.
Well, I certainly can't wait to try it. So let me toast you here so we can take our mask off, we can have a cocktail, and we can try it. Cheers.
Cheers, and like my dad would say in heaven today, živeli, which is the Croatian way to say cheers, živeli.
Živeli, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Terrific.
I'm drinking out of my paper straw.
That is very...
But it's good. It's good.
Terrific.
It's good.
Well, Tommy, why don't we start the questions off by finding out the history of your parents coming over from Croatia, is my understanding, and when the restaurant started here.
Well, our restaurant started in 1969, so we're just over 50 years old. It started right here in this one. This is actually where we are now, is the parking lot of the front of the restaurant. We've had like 5 expansions.
Right.
Bought the lot next door, and then the lot behind us, and then we added on, and then added on again, and brought another thing. Then we had a fire a bunch of years ago, and then renovated and added on again. And the restaurant business is you have to stay up. You can't. There's very few restaurants, Galatoire's being one of them, where you don't change anything. You don't even change the ice cubes at Galatoire's. But a restaurant like ours, you need to keep it hip. You need to keep it, the new things in. You have to, wherever the trends are going. Like who would have thought a bunch of years ago Drago's would be serving tacos? We serve Gator tacos, and I'm going to tell you, they're damn good.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. And
well, we're going to have to try a couple of those.
So before you'd have an ice cream sundae and bread pudding and maybe a flan or a custard, and that's pretty much standard. And 20 years ago, that might be the only thing you saw on or vanilla ice cream with Hershey's on top of it.
Yep.
Well, now you have to add, you've got to, do other things. We've got the hot brownie a la mode, which is the brownie, the ice cream, the whipped cream, the nuts, the Oreo cookies. Then we have the key lime, we have a key lime pie parfait. And then what we're going to see before we close out this show today, we've got, our ice cream fireball. And, so you have to stay on top. You got to stay on top of things. You've got to put you got to bring new colors in. You've got to regularly renovate. You can't have worn, rundown tables and chairs. The decor has to be nice, and it has to be open and airy. Before it was, acoustical ceiling style restaurants. Now it's the big open ceilings and the rafters showing. So that's a big challenge that restaurateurs have to have, that they have in front of them, along with all the other parts of the business, is to make it a place where customers want to go. You can't have a restaurant that the air condition sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work, or sometimes it's kind of dingy. You can't have that. It's got to be hot. And,
well, let's go back just a few years, because what really put you on the map
charbroiled oysters.
was charbroiled oysters.
Yeah.
Correct. So tell me how that came about.
Well, years ago we used to have a dish, redfish on the half shell.
Okay.
And exactly what it is. It's redfish. We used to cook it on an open fire. We'd leave the skin and scales on the fish. We would baste it with a butter and garlic and seasoned sauce, and we would just let it sit there, cook completely. The skin and scales actually holds all the natural juices and the bastings in the fish, and it made for an incredible tasting fish, because you had that soft flesh of the fish, and then you had the flavor of the butter and the garlic and all of those things happening together. So it was really, really good. And then one day I was just thinking, I wonder what would happen if I put this sauce on an oyster on the half shell and cooked it on an open fire.
And what year was that?
Oh, wow, that was probably 25 years ago. There isn't even a set date. It was before I got married. I've been married, actually it's going to be closer to 27, because I've been married 25 years. It was before I got married. And I was just one day, dumb luck. I'm thinking, what would happen if I did?
Right.
And I did it. And today it's the same sauce. The only thing different is we put a Parmigiano Romano cheese on top of it. And I'm going to tell you, you put butter, garlic, Parmesan cheese, Romano cheese, you put it on a flip-flop, and that sucker's going to be good. Much less beautiful Louisiana oysters.
And so I will second that for sure. And so would it be apropos right now to talk about
butter garlic sauce?
Butter garlic sauce, right now.
It's what we've been. It's the same sauce that we've been using. And there's a little bit of a secret. There's margarine in it. There's butter. There's margarine. There's fresh garlic in there. There's Italian seasoning, black pepper, and that's it. And so that's the sauce we use. We go through hundreds of gallons of it a day.
Right.
So people are saying, well, why don't you put it in the grocery stores? And we, kind of heat and hard about it. We said, okay. So we did it, and it's been now.
So it's available where?
Almost all grocery stores. So we've been doing it a little over a year, and we did it mainly just to have our name on the shelf in the grocery store, so that name recognition thing, so people can see it.
That makes sense.
Well, now during the pandemic, people are seeing it. They're cooking at home now. They're doing other things at home, and a whole lot more. So this thing is going crazy. It's gone. It's almost kind of like gone viral, and people are buying it. It's in all the stores. This is the one good part about sales in the restaurant industry for us, is it's doing really, really well for us. And the cool thing is, people are realizing, although it's great on oysters with cheese, but it also, I'm telling you, it makes an incredible garlic bread. You put it on a steak and cook it in a cast iron skillet. You bake some chicken with it. You put it on vegetables. It's one of these sauces that pretty much goes on. It's like salt and pepper. It almost belongs on everything. It's really good, and we're really happy with it. And like I said, it's in most grocery stores. Some places it's in the seafood section. Some places it's in the dairy section. It kind of varies.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, keep an eye out for that in your grocery store for sure. And I must say, this has got to be the most tender alligator,
isn't it?
I've ever had in my life.
Well, and that's because it's farm raised, and
they're feeding it something different.
Well, yeah, they're feeding it. They're monitoring what it eats, and it's unlike Unlike redfish, where you got a farm-raised redfish and a regular redfish or a wild-caught redfish, you can't taste the difference. Same thing with shrimp, farm and wild-caught. You can't taste the difference. Alligator, on the other hand, you can really see the difference. When you're handling the product, you can feel the difference, and then most importantly, you can taste the difference.
Well, that's for sure.
So we use 100% wild-caught alligator. The meat is very, very white. It looks like a chicken or a pork. It's got a great texture, and then you take, like the Dr. Pepper and the other peppers, and the bell peppers and yellow peppers, and the different, the cayennes and all of that, and put it together and put it over rice. That's a great Creole dish.
It is. It's fantastic.
Paul Prudhomme would be proud of me with that one. I promise you.
He'd try to steal that recipe. I guarantee you that. Well, look, I wanted to get back a little more to the oysters in regards to some legislation that came down from the state of Louisiana regarding oyster reefs and all. With the number of places that you have and what's going on in the industry, has there been any issues with you obtaining oysters?
Well, obviously, everything is a challenge today. Being in business is a challenge. I don't care if you're selling liquor. I don't care if, just food. Right. Everything's a challenge. Everything is a little bit different. Getting oysters in here, getting shuckers to shuck oysters. These shucking, we have to shuck, shuckers have to stand next to each other, and it's challenging, and obviously very challenging. So oysters are difficult, but I got to tell you, raw oysters, the oysters that we're serving right now, I can tell you, anywhere you go and get Louisiana oysters, any one of my competitors, they even have great oysters right now. That's how good the oysters are.
Fantastic.
Right now we had all that hot weather a couple weeks ago.
Right.
So and we haven't had a whole lot of rain. So that we've had a westerly flow with the wind. So it's blowing in that salt water. They're incredible right now. So go get you some oysters and have them raw, fry them, do charbroil, get some butter garlic sauce. And they're really good. So, and you were talking about that legislation. That legislation, the oysters are very resilient, but, they have their challenges. Last year we had the spillway that opened twice. Although oysters need a little bit of fresh water, and what makes Louisiana oysters so good is that constant mixing of the fresh and the salt water. And so that gives them all the freshwater nutrients, and it gives them the saltwater nutrients, unlike, other oysters that you like, the Blue Points, where, it's totally different. That's what makes Louisiana oysters what they are, is that constant mixing. But, so last year we had too much fresh water. Yeah. And, after BP, we had too much fresh water. And actually with BP, it actually killed so much because they opened all the floodgates, and what they were doing, and it worked, what they were doing is getting that positive pressure coming from the shoreline with the fresh water, and it was holding all that oil, that crude oil that was spilling from BP, it was kind of holding it off of our shoreline. If you remember when those BP days, you could always see what they would, on the news, they would show you the slick, and you'd see that one, that big puddle kind of in between Mississippi and Louisiana, but it was always off the coast a little bit. Yes, some of that oil came in, it came into the bayous and estuaries, and it was a huge problem, and we dealt with it. But for the most part, it did its job. It kept that oil off of our coastline, all that fresh water, and then opening up the diversions. But the collateral damage was it killed all the oyster beds. Everything in Area 2, Area 3, Area 4, which is that Lake Bourne, St. Bernard area where all that fresh water came, all that stuff is, died. So we had to wait for it to come back. We had to settle for, west of the Mississippi River and towards Cameron Parish, and and God, we had to get some even from Texas, and which at times has really good oysters in itself. But so we had that. Then you had the hurricanes that but oysters have always come back. They're very resilient. So they're now, the biggest thing now that's against oysters is all of these freshwater diversions. They're pumping the fresh water from the river into the bayous and bays where oysters grow. So obviously it's not the best place for oysters. So what's happening is these oyster beds technically have to be moved. But what makes an oyster bed so good is that constant flow, but also the water bottoms. They can't just grow on a mud bottom. They have to grow on a shell bottom.
How deep are these oyster beds?
Anywhere from 2 to 6 or 8 feet.
Oh, that's it.
It's shallow water.
Oh, wow.
It's shallow water. And but you have to, these oyster beds, after generations and generations, the thickness of the shells is 6, 8, 10 feet above the mud. So that's really good because those oysters grow there, and the water can kind of go through and filter through the shells where it can't filter through the mud and the sand. And so we just kind of have to work through that. But so now there's some legislation out there helping the industry. It's not yet dedicated on where the money and how the money is going to go. They're looking for ideas right now. I can tell you that from what I'm hearing, most of that money is going to end up going in the water, which is a great thing, whether it's to buy rock or whether it's to set up these diversions a little bit differently so it's more advantageous for oysters, so to help them grow. And basically you're going to take the prime oyster growing regions and just move them a little bit is what they're trying to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, I'm getting a whole lot of oyster knowledge right now.
And I'm lucky because that was an easy question for me.
Now, the only thing I know about areas, I didn't quite understand the area 2 and 3. The only area I know is 51, and I think that's in, I don't know, New Mexico, I think, I don't know where them cats are from. Well, look, I wanted to also ask you in regards to your charbroil, where outside of Louisiana have you served these oysters? Well, and are they nationwide famous?
It's really cool. Yes, I've gone to, I pinch myself. A lot of people say, "Oh, are you pissed off because so-and-so copied it?" Dude, I'm flattered. I love it. I think of Paul Prudhomme and what he did to the redfish industry. I hope one day somebody's going to be telling my kids, "Man, your dad just did this to the oyster industry with what he did." So to me, that's really cool. I've done it at the Dallas Super Bowl when the Saints went down to Miami. We feed the Saints every Friday before their Saints games. I don't know what's going to happen this year, but we've been doing it now for almost since Katrina, since Sean Payton's been here. We've been feeding the Saints every Friday, charbroiled oysters. Mr. Benson wanted us to go down to Miami. We went down to Miami, so we cooked for his tailgate party down there and for the team. So that was a lot of fun. When I was king of, I had the greatest honor to be king of Washington Mardi Gras, which was probably the most fun 5 days I think I've had in a long time to this day. We cooked at the Washington Mardi Gras event. I've cooked before at Sawgrass for the PGA because we do a lot with the golfers.
And you also support the 4Kids.
Yeah, 4Kids Foundation. We do it with every year we do the Champions Club and cook oysters out there. I mean, we cook anywhere 25, 30, 35,000 oysters in a weekend out there. And that's a lot of fun. And it's just fun watching these golfers. And, man, this is good, and watching them eat and getting to know them. And one of the neatest things about my family and I were driving through Texas. And I don't know if you've ever driven through Texas, but you can go for a week or 10 days and not see anything.
I've done it one time.
And I've got 4 little kids in the back, my wife and 4 little kids in the back seat. And Dad, I'm hungry. And we can't even find a Burger King, McDonald's, or a Popeyes, believe it or not. That's how. So we're coming up on Austin, and then we look over, and then there's a ravine and a valley, and you can see a marina down there. And I'm thinking, oh, here's a chance for me to get good food instead of gas station food, or I said, let's go down there. There's got to be a restaurant there. And sure enough, there was a marina and country club, and there's a restaurant. So we ate. Right. Open up the menu, charbroiled oysters.
Oh,
and I'm like, I like this. And remember, we're in Texas. Texas got good oysters too. Mm-hmm. So then I said, well, give us one of these, and then so we ate them, and they were actually pretty good. And so a little while later, a manager comes by and does a table visit, and how was everything? I said, oh, everything was wonderful, because it really was. It was a great meal. Right. And I said, tell me about these charbroiled oysters. Oh man, our chef. He goes down to New Orleans, and there's this restaurant in the Hilton Hotel that he goes to, and they serve. Apparently, that restaurant's famous for him, and that's where he got it. He copied it off of them, but people
lay it on him.
People are crazy. Oh, dude, it was like he got a paper cut. I threw my business card out there, and I was like a lawyer pulling out my business card, and I said, "Is your chef here?" And he goes, "Yeah, he is." I said, "Bring him my card." He looked at the card. And he goes, oh, poop. So the chef comes out. He was really nice. We had a great time, a great conversation. He said, oh, man, you got to meet my owner. He brought the owner over. It was just a great experience. And for me, it was really cool to see that side of it and be to experience that, and so that was really neat. So yeah, we do them all, in a lot of, and obviously because of the restaurant association, I'm well traveled and I get to go to a lot of places. I'm very blessed with that. And we get to go to a lot of really neat restaurants in different places, and I've seen it on, and obviously you see it on the menu wherever you go, a lot of, and most seafood restaurants, and
well, you got to be flattered,
and I am, and proud and flattered, and proud to be a part of the Louisiana oyster industry and the restaurant industry, and
well, there you go,
and it's cool.
So tell us a little about how many restaurants you have now, and where are they, and how you doing with them?
Well, we're doing really good and really bad. We have 5 restaurants. We have obviously the original right here in Metairie. This restaurant has been open the whole time. We've been, even when we were closed and they had to shut down, we were serving to go. And then when we opened to 25%, we opened to 25%. Then we're at 50, and then now we have an empty bar at 50% with an empty bar. Our Hilton location, which was the number 2 location, has yet to reopen. That's partly, obviously, the city, and no tourism is a big part of it. A big part of it is really big numbers and corporate, because that restaurant is a franchise, although I'm very involved in it. That's a franchise that's owned by Hilton, and they have their own mindset, and you're not changing corporate's mind. So that's still closed, and we're dealing with it, and hopefully they'll get that open soon. They just opened the hotel about a week ago, and they've got, I'm sure, some sort of formula when they're going to decide to open our restaurant. They're going to do charbroiled oysters in their spirits bar first, and maybe 1 or 2 items, and then eventually open the restaurant. But whatever they choose to do, we're going to be behind them 100% and get food down there. Our number 3 location is Jackson, Mississippi. Blake Brennan is a great friend of mine from the Brennan family, and he moved to Jackson after Katrina, and his wife was from Jackson, and he's an Ole Miss guy and all that, but go Tigers. But so he called me one day and said, hey, can we do a restaurant here in Jackson? I'm going to work for this new company, and they want to do a Drago's. And I told them, I said, well, we can, but we got the challenge of getting food up here, and that's going to have, you're going to have to be addressed, and I can't give you a better deal than I gave the Hilton. Right. I understand. So I told him what the deal was. I told him what we would do, and he said, my guys are interested. So we went up there. A few months later, they cut the deal. And
how long has that been open for?
That's been open now probably about 5 years, 6 years. Our number 3 restaurant was Lafayette. I've always had this fetish with Lafayette. I love Lafayette. I always wanted to go to UL and go to the party school. It was, Southwestern Louisiana in our days, and I wanted to go there. And my mom and dad, caught wind of why I wanted to go, and said, "Oh, no, not unless you have good grades and you can handle it, and we're not going to let you go there, And
are you open there in Lafayette now?
So we are open there in Lafayette. We opened a restaurant there and love it. And the people there are just spectacular. In fact, I've got a son that lives in Lafayette and goes to UL and works in the restaurant, and it's a fun place. So then that was number 4 for us. And this past January, I've always had my eye on Baton Rouge. I've loved Baton Rouge, although I'm a Tiger fan, but I'm not a huge, I don't eat and sleep and drink and but I love my state and my state's college and football team, and but I've always loved Baton Rouge. I've gone up to the legislature, being with the Louisiana Restaurant Association a lot. We do a lot of lobbying. We testify in front of the committees and promote our industry, as you have. And we always promote our industry and talk about our industry. And so I've always loved Baton Rouge, and it's just a fun place. It's an hour away. So we decided to open a restaurant in Baton Rouge. We're right on I-10 and College, right next to all those hotels. And then so right after we opened, what decides to happen? But COVID-19. And
I think that surprised the world.
Yeah, and we're doing okay. The good thing is that restaurant's not going to close. Our landlords are, because that's a rental property, our landlords are working with us. We've got a very nice, a very fair lease there. They're working with us, and and we're going to be good. So that restaurant's there and it's open, and it like the Metairie restaurant was open the whole time during the shutdown, and we did to go, and now we're open. We did 25% and 50%, and that restaurant's doing really well. And it takes a while to get we've got this reputation here in New Orleans, but I've got to earn that reputation in Baton Rouge. Right. And that's what we're in the process of doing right now.
Let's help you out a little bit. You are NDC people that are in Lafayette and Baton Rouge. Visit Drago's, support them. They're open.
And let's talk about
the food will be great.
Talk about the bar part of it. I mean, I think that bar in Baton Rouge is one of the neatest, coolest bars. It's got the high ceilings.
Right.
It's got about 10 big TVs in it. It's got big community tables. The bar seats about 100, a little over 100 people there.
Wow.
And we have a stage. Before COVID, we had a piano player playing every night.
Right.
There's a baby grand piano in there, and so it's a nice place to. So we just kind of, I enjoy spirits. I enjoy bar. I enjoy having, hanging out, and and so it was all the things that I wanted. I kind of put in that restaurant. A lot of thought, and thank God my mom and my brother let me go and let me do what I wanted to do, and we're having fun.
Well, you're obviously doing it. Certainly riding the coattails of Charbroiled, but creating dishes like this, creating atmospheres like you have here and in Baton Rouge makes you a true professional restaurateur.
So it's kind of time for another course, maybe another cocktail.
Yeah, well,
we're in New Orleans after all.
Sure,
we're in, and we'll bring Gabby in here for this one.
Come on in, Gabby.
And so New Orleans is big with Bloody Marys. It's a good eye opener. It's we tailgate. What better way to tailgate?
Yep.
But if we're going to do a Bloody Mary,
ladies and gentlemen, that is a Bloody Mary.
People are always putting stuff on a Bloody Mary. They're always putting things in a Bloody Mary, and
what do you call this, Tommy?
We call it a Bloody Mary.
Oh,
and this is, and we do this with Wheatley's vodka, and
very good.
And the cool thing about this, the Wheatley's vodka is, although it's not made in Louisiana, it's got Louisiana ownership, and we're very proud of.
Oh, that is
I'm very proud of Made in America, Made in Louisiana. Bring it home, and so that we're very proud of that. But New Orleans, and we're all about eating and drinking, huh?
That's it.
Why don't we do it together? And the best part about soft shell crabs are the darn legs and the claws.
Let's dig in.
There's a straw. And how good is that, huh? Beautiful, fresh Louisiana soft shells. I need one more, please.
Nobody does it better. Nobody.
And this is Louisiana, and so you get to drink your Wheatley's Bloody Mary.
There you go. There you go.
And take
a little sip, ladies.
Yeah, kind of. Let's do this romantic-wise, huh? Ooh.
That Harlan Wheatley can make a vodka, ladies and gentlemen.
Man, it's good.
Well,
we can make a soft shell crab, and Gabby can make a Bloody Mary with a soft shell crab.
There you go, Gabby. Terrific. So let me ask you one other real quick question in regards to the boards that you sit on. I know you're very, very active in the restaurant scene here, and I know you sit on the Louisiana Hospitality Board. And I know they've been doing a whole lot since this pandemic.
Yeah.
Can you just
the Hospitality Foundation is something that we got a group of restaurateurs and industry people, and it's not just restaurant guys. It's bar guys, hotel guys, and some service people, and we get together. We've given of our personal money well over $1 million back to in the form of grants to employees in the industry that are in need, whether there's been a death in the family, or whether for some reason there's an apartment or a house issue or a fire, or we just recently in Kenner, there was a restaurant that had a fire, and our foundation, we didn't write him a check, but we gave him a credit at New Orleans Fish House, who's a great sponsor of ours as well. Yep. And we gave him a credit from Cisco Foods, who also helps our foundation, to kind of help him through and get through a hard time. I know what it's like to go through a fire. I know what it's like to go through hard times. So our foundation helps people in the industry a lot, mostly employees, but every once in a while we get to help some of our small partners that just struggle and have a good time. Right. But the Louisiana Restaurant Association, I've been part of that now for going on 30 years, and that's really in my blood. I love representing our industry. I love talking about our industry, our seafood industry. I sat on the seafood promotion board for 10 years, and although I'm off the board, I still, there's nothing better than Louisiana seafood. Maybe one or two seafood items. And then while I was on the Restaurant Association board, they found out I was Canadian by birth, because I was born in Vancouver, British Columbia. I got to meet the Canadian board when they came to New Orleans, because they asked for a couple restaurant people to speak at their board meeting.
Right.
And I got the chance to speak at the board meeting.
Fantastic.
And then so they have an exchange director program with the National Restaurant Association. So when that position became available, the guys from Canada said, hey, to the national people, how about that guy from New Orleans that was born in Canada? Can we get him? So I spent 9 years on the Canadian restaurant board as a liaison. Wow. And that was really fun. So I got to go to Canada three times a year for their board meetings, and then go to our board meetings, which were all over the country, and then our state board meetings around the state. And it was just, I learned so much. I learned so much about insurance, because I sat on the insurance committee, the self-insure workers' comp committee that Louisiana runs, which other states have copied. So I got to sit there and I get to learn insurance there, and just being around the movers and shakers and that make things happen in our industry has been really, really cool. But I'm going to get Gabby to do one more thing. You need to go get me an ice cream fireball, because you can't have dinner without having dessert.
My goodness gracious. Well, let me also state to you ladies and gentlemen out there viewing that certainly I would think that the statement that Ian McNulty made a few segments back in regards to our food and beverage culture here in the city and the region, with professionals like you, Mr. Cvitanovich, and the boards that you serve, and the other people that I've interviewed, I think we're going to be in good hands, and that we'll come back faster than any other city in the United States. So, hold on, don't leave just yet. We got a dessert coming that's going to rock the world.
Let me pile on to there.
Yep.
When they tell you right now that 20, 30, 40% of the restaurants are not going to come back because of COVID-19, that's a good, strong number to go with. Unfortunately, this is even with PPP and even with the help and the challenges that our industry faces now, especially the small guys, the people that have 40 employees or less. It's going to, because these guys live, some people live paycheck to paycheck. These guys live table to table with customers coming in, or party, and we don't have the big thing that happened, that helps our industry. You don't have catering, because most of your catering parties are gone. Most of your banquets and your pharmaceutical functions and your rehearsal dinners and wedding receptions, all that's not happening now for 6 months. And those are the kind of restaurants that, those are the kind of events that carry some of our restaurants and make them actually survive. So without that, we're in for some strange times ahead. And hopefully we're going to make it through this. And as much as I hate wearing a mask, and as much as I'm on, a certain side of politics, I'm going to tell you that, I think, our elected officials on both sides of the aisle have done, a pretty good job in trying to help and work. And as much as I hate this mask, we got to wear it. Got to wear it. And, smarter people than you and I mean, we might be smart when it comes to this, but when it comes to the other things, those smart people, are saying that's going to help us. And I've got a brother who's a doctor and a coroner, and I'm friendly with the governor. I'm friendly with the Republican side as well, and I'm somewhat friendly with the mayor of New Orleans, who's catching a lot of heat. But they're trying to represent their people. They're trying to make sure our city comes back the right way. And so this is ice cream fireball. And it is, so let's get this other bottle in here. And but I'm going to start off by saying anything worth doing is worth overdoing. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this the New Orleans way, because we got the sauce in here that's going to go on here.
Yeah.
But you know what? I got a professional here, so I need to do this right. So I'm going to put a little bit more, maybe a little bit more fireball in there.
Oh my goodness.
And then what you do, this is a caramel. with Fireball in it already.
Right.
And literally, you just literally pour the hot caramel on top.
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen.
And remember, we got that extra caramel in there. We got the Fireball right here. And it's vanilla ice cream with that graham cracker below. It's got these huge caramel and chocolate morsels in it.
Right.
And wait until you taste this.
Is this available?
At every restaurant, all of our restaurants. And this is a great way.
Get up on the Fireball.
Very unique for a dessert.
Wow.
Really good.
It really is.
doesn't, you know, this, when you're drinking it and shooting it, and my kids are forcing me to drink it, and you know, you end up saying, ah! You know, it's kind of like drinking Jägermeister in the old days, you know.
Right.
But you know, and it puts hair on your chest and all that. But then you take that and you put it with caramel and ice cream and chocolate, and damn, this is good.
Those are the creative things that, Tommy, I think will keep you in business a long time. So let me thank you very much for hosting us here at this this segment of Lifting Community Spirits. And ladies and gentlemen, I do believe Gabby, the bartender here at Drago's, is going to show you how to make a couple of these drinks. So thank you very much. Tune in next week.
Ghibli.
Ghibli. Ghibli. There you go. Ghibli. Remember that. Ghibli.
Hi, I'm Gabby. I'm the bar manager at the World Famous Drago's in Metairie. We're making a Bloody Mary today with Wheatley's Vodka. You put a big, nice shot in there. Add your ice. Crystal hot sauce. Zataran's Bloody Mary mix. Okay. I'm gonna put a lime. Ooh. Lemon. We're gonna add a soft shell crab today. Oops. There we go. Falling apart on me. There we go. Some cocktail and some tartar. Then we're going to make a Sailor Jerry and Diet Coke. Another shot in there. Ice. Diet Coke. And some lemon. And there we go. And there